session, Lunch and Learn session in our Bold 75 series. We have BT here with us today to talk us through the B in Bold, Bring Cash Home, and you will see over the next few weeks additional invites for Lunch and Learns covering the other Bold priorities. This Lunch and Learn will follow our standard format if you've been to one before. In a moment, I'll turn it over to BT, who will take us through a few slides, and then we'll open it up for questions. So as BT is presenting, think through what you want to ask him. You can feel free to throw those questions in the chat as you think of them, and we will get to those towards the end of the session. So with that, I will share the PowerPoint deck and turn it over to you, BT.
Thank you, Taylor. Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining and making the time to join us today. I can't see the presentation yet, Taylor, but as soon as it's up, we can start.
There we go. Now are you seeing it?
Yes, thank you so much. So for the ones that don't know me, my name is Bernardo Torres. People call me BT because, as many of you know, there is another Bernardo in the company that is called BK. So I'm gonna be talking today to you about Bold 75, and as Taylor mentioned, today we're gonna be focused on the letter B of Bold, which is Bring Cash Back Home. And to start talking about that, maybe you can do the next page, Taylor. I would like to share with you what's our financial situation here at the company. And so to start, let's look at Q1 results and what happened to each dollar of sale that we had during Q1. So if you go one more, Taylor, please. So about 38 cents of every dollar that we sold in Q1, we spend on product costs. This includes the cost of the product itself and the freight to bring the product from the suppliers into our DCs. If you go one more, Taylor, please. Yeah, another 44 cents of every dollar we spend on delivery expenses, and delivery expenses include our field teams, our fuel and maintenance of our trucks, the storage and handling costs of the materials we have, and all of that together is about 44 cents on each dollar we sell. Then facility expenses, which includes maintenance, utilities, and depot expenses, consumed another 4 cents of every dollar. This is what we call depot contribution, okay? And that's the result that we can calculate at the depot level. But this is not all the costs. So there are some costs that we don't calculate at depot level, but also need to be paid for, which is our SG&A. Basically, SG&A includes all our corporate team expenses, our IT infrastructure and support, the consumer care team that supports our business, and all the marketing and advertising money we invest on the business. That's another 17 cents. If you add all the parts up until now, we're spending already more than the dollar, but it's not looking good, but it's not over yet. This is what we call EBITDA. So that's basically all the results, including the central expenses. But we still need to pay for our fleet as well. And the fleet, which is basically the leases of the trucks, costs us another 6 cents on every dollar. So when we add all that together, one more, Taylor, please. For every dollar we sell, we're actually short 9 cents on each dollar when we pay for everything we need to pay for. So we need to do something about it, because this situation is not sustainable. So there is no business that can live in a situation like that. If you go to the next page, please. So why bringing cash back home is important? As we saw, we're burning cash on a consistent basis, and negative cash generation is not sustainable. We're also living and operating in a challenging market that has been declining for multiple years. But we have a bold goal for the company and aspiration. We want to be here for another 75 years. So to do that, we need to bring cash home and stop the cash burn. And what have we done so far about that? So we started by rebuilding our budget. And we're doing here the same way we do at home. So sometimes there is a situation where somebody makes $100,000 a year, but they spend 120. So in a situation like that, it's not sustainable for them. And in some cases, this person could be better if they would actually be spending they're making $90,000, so less money than they currently make, but being able to have a leave or a cost of living of 80,000 and ending up with 10,000 at the end of the day. So this is what we are doing here with our budget as well. So if you're looking at our results in the first column for 2022, our net sales was $700 million, and we had a negative EBITDA of 13 million. So we spent 13 million more money before paying for the fleet than the money that we made. The budget for 2023, when we started the year, was also at about $700 million of sales. And being honest and transparent with everybody here, you would have to be very lucky to achieve $700 million again, given the trends that we are seeing. So what we did is, again, like we do at home, we revised the budget to bring to use an estimate of sales more realistic based on the trend we are seeing in the market. So we reduced the revenue, but at the same time we stretched the costs to capture every opportunity that we need and believe we can have to operate this business. So the new budget plan we have is less risky and also delivers a better result. But more important than that, it's less dependent on luck. And if you think about this current plan, there is still a lot of costs in it. We can see here on the COGS line in the last column, 234 million of that is related to product and freight, and that part is obviously large, but is being addressed by our procurement team in conjunction with our marketing team to see what we can do in our products costs without compromising quality. But there is still 360 million of other expenses that everybody here in this call has some direct control or influence over. Inside this money, we have obviously a large bucket, which is people, but we also have vehicle maintenance and fuel. There is a large bucket. We're talking about $40 million a year, and that does not include the cost of the lease itself. We have also a big spend on IT and pro fees, so consulting costs. It's also a large bucket. We spend $20 million on IT and consulting per year. And even smaller buckets like building maintenance, where we spend $5 million to maintain all our depots. In these $5 million, you have things like $1 million on outside maintenance. Can you believe on that? We spend $1 million a year on gardening and snow removal. That's a lot of money, right? We also have $1 million in travel for the corporate team, another $4 million of travel in the depot teams between overnight routes and other travel that the teams do. About $3 million in telephone and internet, and the list goes on. So it's a lot of money. And if you can find efficiencies of 5 to 10% on those two cost buckets, that could improve our results even better than what is in the plan here, by $30 to $60 million if it's 5 to 10% of the saving. I believe we can do that, and for that we need to use financial discipline. Can go to the next page, Taylor, please. So we have a plan, and this plan was built together with many people that are in this call. And I do truly believe in this plan. Our budget reflects the part of this plan that can be delivered still this year. And by delivering this plan, we can turn our cash flow positive now in the second half of the year. So we can actually change this picture that we are seeing in the beginning of the year. And as part of this plan, we have things like inventory management and reduction of our product costs that are planning to deliver $25 million this year. We have improvement on delivery expenses by the changes we did in the field management team, by our cost to serve tests and models that we are considering, by improvements on freight costs and also on fleet maintenance. We have another $1 million of depot efficiencies, so basically looking into the expenses we have inside the depots. And we have another $12 million in IT and pro fees, changes we did to our functional team orgs, savings on travel, and other things as well. If we can deliver all that is in the plan for this year, we can deliver 10 cents on every dollar. So that would close the gap that we saw of the $9 cents per dollar before. And that does not include further financial discipline on the other $600 million of costs that we just saw in the previous page. If we can find anything on that part, it can make it even better than this. To deliver this plan, we cannot count on luck. We need to have financial discipline, and we need to count on all of you that are in this call, but also everybody that was not able to join the call and is part of the company to bring us there. Next page. And what is financial discipline? So it's all about cash as being priority number one. If we don't prioritize the cash, there is no future for us. When we talk about prioritizing cash, every penny counts. When you add all pennies up, it becomes a large amount. And how do you do that? With ownership. We can't expect other people to figure out how to solve the problems we have with our spend or our revenue that we're generating. We need to own it. We need to figure it out by ourselves. Collaboration. The teams need to work together to solve the problems and capture the opportunities. If somebody doesn't know how to do something and you know how to do well, bring them together, teach them how to do, and get them moving with you and delivering the same level as you are. If you don't know how to do it, find the person that does it better than you and ask them, how can you do better? What they can teach you that can help you get there. Data visibility. Without seeing what's going on, we can't identify what we need to improve. So comparing how we're operating in different locations, understanding in details what's happening. It's all very important to be able to deliver what we need to deliver. Do more with less. It's about efficiency that we're talking about here. It's about productivity, trying to always do better, and accountability. Each of us is responsible for the money that we spend and that we bring to the company. So we can't count on luck. And the way to do this, all this is about is by asking questions, by deep diving on the numbers, by being curious about what's going on. It's about following processes. So it's about discipline. We need to be proactive. We can't wait for somebody else to ask us to do better. We need to be proactive, identify the opportunities, and go after it. And like we do at home, we cannot spend more than what we make. So we need to prioritize, we need to make choices. What's more important, what is actually needed as the minimum to make things happen, and for things that are not priority, we should avoid spending the money. And then to close, I have one more page where I try to put here what is the focus that I expect each of you here in the call to focus on. So for the functional teams and corporate teams, I think the contribution you guys can do here to the bring cash back priority is to focus on capturing efficiency opportunities, and doing that by prioritizing the cash. So looking to the priorities and capture every efficiency opportunity we can identify. For the field teams, that part is also true for the things that we spend at the depot level, but I think there is a part of on the revenue side that is also very important, which is let's deliver every order. Let's deliver every order we have in every route, and also aiming to get to the 1530 break even SPD on every route. So if we can do those two things, that will deliver the plan that we are expecting here for the year, and it's going to get us in a much better situation to continue to bring the company for the next 75 years. That's what I had to say to you today and share. I think now we can open for questions. Taylor.
Yes, thank you, BT. Good info there. For the rest of the team, what questions you have, you can feel free to unmute yourselves and ask, or add a question in the chat and I will read it off. Who's going to be first?
Don't feel shy. I'll do my best to answer what I know and can. If I don't know, we follow up and come back to you guys later.
Yeah, this is Jason out of Tacoma, Washington.
Hi, Jason.
And so one of my questions are, since we had done a recent increase to our leg in, leg out stops from a 5-mile radius to a 10-mile radius, I was on a route yesterday that was pulling us well out of our area to try to deliver quite a few orders. We wound up having to, pushing well beyond a 12-hour day, unfortunately, with our scheduling and traffic. We also left a pre-order in 5 DDKs on the table, just in direct result, and we maybe made it only to 4 stops that were outside of the digital platform. Is this something that is just due to our geographic area possibly, or is this just us waiting for the new routing and the new plan to go forward to be more efficient?
I think it's going to be improved with the new efficiency, Jason. I'm not an expert on our routing processes here that we have with the company, but I did have a good experience on that in the past, previous company that I worked at. So I understand a little bit what you're saying. I think it's Jason. The answer is there are some things that are happening today that are not efficient, that as part of the cost to serve test we are doing, we are trying to actually address those things and identify these inefficiencies and improve on them, right? And one thing that we are seeing and learning more and more with the locations that are under test is that every time we change the route during the day, like a DDK, for example, that we only get to know during the day, that impacts a lot the efficiency of the route, because you end up having to get out of your way to go now to that customer that is actually waiting for you, even if it's not in the route that makes sense for you to go. So we are analyzing one of the things we are analyzing is this one. But again, this is part of the test. The idea is that by learning from that, we're going to be able to improve every route that we have today. But this is definitely an efficiency opportunity, Jason.
Yeah. Was it the decision to go from 5 miles to 10 miles just due to the apparent need to serve more so than the cost to serve?
No, I'm not super close to that, but what I know about it, Jason, is that we had some issues with the window of availability online when we had the smaller window. When you reduce the window of the from 10 to 5, you reduce the availability of time windows that the customers can choose to schedule their delivery. And I think one thing that the team was trying to do was actually to improve that window, because there are multiple things that impact that window of availability for the customers, and that was one. And the team was trying to actually increase that window, and they did a few changes, and that potentially is one of the reasons that's happening. It's good to hear the feedback and how that impacts the way we are operating on the day-to-day, so then we can follow up back with them and try to get them to see if the benefits are worth the inefficiencies that causes in the routes.
Thank you.
I think we have another question there.
We do. Lyle.
I hope I answered, Jason. Again, I'm not the expert on that, but that's what I learned here from following some of the conversations.
This is Lyle in DeWitt, Iowa. Just a question for you. You had mentioned that the goal is to get to 1530 sales per day. Is there any support that's coming to maybe help us get to that point?
Hi, Lyle. Thanks for the question. Yeah, I think what we brought there is the 1530 is the break even, right? Like, if we get everybody to that, we're gonna have every route in the country being a profitable route for us, right? And obviously it's not an easy thing to get there. So there are a couple of things that we are considering to get there. Some of that are parts of the test that we are doing, where we change a little bit the route model that improves the number of routes. We just launched this week the incentive for everybody, the sales incentive to all of you, which we thought would be helpful to bring more of a team mindset for everybody at the depot level. So everybody kind of fighting and trying to get to the same goal, and acting more on a collaborative way at the depot level than each one only worried about their own routes, and then having discussions about this customer should be in my route, not in yours, and all that. So we feel like that's not a helpful thing, and we feel like with the incentive we're kind of trying to help a little bit there. but those are the two things. So it's between the incentive and trying to align on what is good for everybody, is good for the company as well, and some of the tests that we are doing on the CTS. That, to give you perspective, we have routes running on the CTS that are making $2,000 a day on a consistent basis. So there are some of those tests that are very encouraging. They have very encouraging results, and you're going to hear more about that when we go to the next letters of BOLD. So I won't steal their thunder, but you're gonna hear more about that in the coming week.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for the plug, BT. And as an aside, though, that invites for the O in BOLD are in your inboxes now. BT, we got a question in the chat from Jason. He asked, are we going to start enforcing a minimum order amount on DDK off cycle? I had 5 DDKs and one was just to ask a question about product. 3 were under $30 and one was a $200 order. It created a long day.
It's a fair question. We actually got a comment about that this week from somebody. Don't remember exactly where, but we have a daily leadership call here. Same way you guys do the huddle every morning. We do our leadership huddle every morning where we talk about everything that is going on, and this topic came up this week, and we are actually considering putting a minimum order side, or the conversation is between a minimum order side or including some sort of an extra fee for orders that are lower than a minimum level, especially for DDK. The other thing we are considering about DDK, and it's not super easy to implement, but we are also looking into, is to try to do the DDK the day before. So then when you go to the route, you already know the answers, and that doesn't change our route. So the route is already good considering the DDK stops in it. So it's a little bit of a change. You're trying to understand the impact, but that's also being considered. You have somebody with the hand up.
Yes, Roy.
Yes, hi, good morning. Thank you. I'm out of Tucson. My question, my observation is here in Tucson for quite some time, our BCs after 5 p.m. are just consistently shrinking. And my question is, have you guys thought about maybe, in a depot my size where there's 9 RSRs, is there talks of maybe a 2 RSR starting later and staying out later to maybe scoop up some of those missed pre-orders, or allowing a 2-income family the ability to buy? For instance, this week we're at a 15.15, so we're so close to that break even. And of course, we're in the contest, and I'm looking through my recaps and doing my research. My guys are staying out later, and they're bringing in 2 to 3 more, 5 more BCs a day, $300, $400, $500 after 5 p.m. Whereas in the past, I was lucky to get 2 BCs a route day after 5 p.m. So it just, just an idea. Maybe you guys are already talking about it. Maybe a later start time for a couple of people, kind of a hybrid start, like maybe 1 p.m. to 9 p.m. or noon to 8. And they're out there a little bit later sweeping up, like Jason up in Tacoma couldn't get to those orders. Maybe that later start person could go hit those. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud. But my question is, have you guys thought of maybe a hybrid start system?
It's a very good question, Roy. Thanks for bringing the idea. We didn't. We talked about it, like, honestly 3-4 months ago, but that the conversation didn't go further. What we did talk about, and I think it's a good point, and I'll bring the conversation back to the table here for everybody. What we did talk about was a similar idea, but a little bit different, which was running a Saturday route to see if there was any opportunity there. There are, I think, 2, I don't know if it's 2 or 4, I think it's 4 locations that we have doing tests, running Saturday routes. Currently, results are not very good. Like it didn't go as well as we expected. But we didn't put any tests on extended hours, let's say this way, right? So operate on a less commercial timeline. So I'll bring that as a topic for the team again here, and I think might be a good test to run as well based on your feedback. I think especially on locations where we have more dense and more suburban businesses, it's probably good. Any other questions? I think that's it, Taylor. I don't know if.
Well, thank you, BT, and thanks everyone for the good questions. Like I mentioned at the beginning, you'll see invites for additional lunch and learns over the next 3 weeks. And then the recording from today's session, along with BT's slides, will be posted on Flight later today. Thanks everyone for coming. Have a good rest of the day.
Thanks, everybody. Very nice.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
the
Thank you.
question. Very
Thanks,
good
BT.
ones.
Thanks,
Bye.
Thanks, BT.
Good job,
Thanks,
BT.
Taylor.